we're back talking about Genesis chapter 37. It starts off with some talk about Joseph, his brothers, and his father. So when I look at this particular chapter, it starts off with Joseph um, kind of running his mouth a little bit, talking about his dreams. And he's describing his dreams to his brother, and he's describing his dreams to his father. And there's this tension there because there's a relationship where he's the favorite of the sons because he's the son that was birthed during the time of his father's old age. So as Joseph is speaking about the fact that there is a plan for him to be kind of ruler over his brothers and be able to execute like authority over his brothers, there begins the full glass of haterade. So that's what we're seeing in Genesis chapter 37. And as we go through this dream, we can see eventually God's plans come to pass at some point. But it makes me think about the idea of, privacy and things that come to your mind that are precious to you versus like outwardly sharing things that come to you. And I think there's something to consider here because, Joseph was quick to share all of God's plans with people who were hateful toward him. And although God works everything out for good for those who believe, I have to wonder if all the events would have taken place exactly the same if he would have been a bit more quiet about the plans that God had for him. So I kind of think of that about that a little while, but um, I tend to be a more of an open book and share many things, not everything, but many things. Unless I feel like God's not leading me to share that, and that I should just use that information and pray about it. But I kind of wonder a little bit about that at the beginning of this chapter. Again, it starts off with Jacob in the land of Canaan. It talks about the generations of Jacob. Jacob being 17 years old, pasturing a flock with his brothers. He was a boy with the sons of Bela and Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought a bad report to them to his father. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his sons. So, and don't forget, Jacob was just recently named Israel here. So Israel loved Jacob more than any of his other sons because he was a son of his old age, and made him a robe that had colors on it. And his brothers just were hating him while he was as happy as can be. Hey, everybody. So just to keep this one really quick, because we're going to do this in two parts. We're going to do Genesis chapter 37 in two parts. For part one, I just want to call your attention that Joseph was a bit chatty about his personal things, about his dreams, and about the things that God had for him. And it makes us wonder when we're getting ready to share and overshare personal things. I don't tend to be super private, but I kind of know when it's something that God's given me. And sometimes it's important for us to pray about things before we just release them because not everybody means good for us. And while I'm not a super private person, I do when I feel like something has come from God, I do kind of lean in and make sure that I've cleared something with God and prayed about it and have peace about sharing it before I just share it. So I think that could be wisdom for us. In the case of Joseph, he went through a lot of torment because he shared, and he shared very early. So thank you for subscribing, Silver, and the rest of you guys hop on in there and subscribe too. So we see that, and then we see the brothers were hating him from day one. Dad had favoritism toward him, and there was just a whole lot of hatred toward him. But nevertheless, Joseph was having dreams, and he was able to also interpret his dreams. And we see that's the beginning of like the way God is speaking to him in his dreams. And again, when God's given you something special, it's something to pray about, whether you should be releasing that broadly or should you keep it a little bit close to your vest. I get things from God every now and then, and sometimes I know I just got to release it to you guys. Other times it's like, oh, wait, I need to pray for this. It's something to be prayerful about, to be wise about, for us to think about when we should release something versus when we shouldn't. And here's a perfect example. when it's time to release something, you're going to have a pull to release it. And even though you're trying to run away from releasing it, you won't have peace. You will feel like I can't even sleep until I get this out of my mouth. I need to go ahead and get this out of my mouth. And then once you do that, you have this peace where you can now go to sleep. That's how you know that it's God trying to push you to release something. That's often how I feel when I'm like, wait, I need to stop everything. I need to release this statement. And I can't do anything until I get that statement released. That's how you know that God wants you to release it. So you'll have a nudging or a pulling towards something when that happens, and that's how you know. It doesn't really clarify whether Joseph did any prayer before he released. He was just kind of like hearing from God and releasing it. So we have to wonder, is that something that he could have improved upon? Nevertheless, he was releasing things, he was getting the hatred. And at some point, his brothers sold him out big time. So it's something to think about. Like, I wonder how much more hurtful that could be. Is like when a stranger comes against you, that's one thing. But when it's like your inner circle comes against you, it's just another level of, um, it's another level that's an indescribable pain. And I know that pain. I know you guys probably know that pain too. When somebody in your inner circle comes against you and, or just fails to be there for you. How about that? Like, how many of us, raise your hand if you can feel me on that? Like, where you're like, having these expectations like, wow, I've been always been there for this person and that person, but then when I really need something, they're just, ghosting me or not around. Go ahead, raise your hand, because I've been there. And I don't know, I could tell you, for me, I'm right now in a season where I'm assessing those things. I'm assessing and reevaluating relationships right now. Those people to me who I feel like, well, I've been there for this person, that person, this person, that person, over and over and over and over again. And then I sit back and I'm like, but are they there for me when I need something? So I'm like, I'm actually sitting down to reevaluate those things. And I'm like, okay, um, you know, it is this prudent for me to stay connected to people who aren't dependable when I'm the dependable one? If that's the only connection point, then maybe I should like save my energy a little bit. So those are things I'm personally getting right now, that I'm personally working through right now. Nevertheless, we see that Joseph is being basically stabbed in the back during his inner circle, and it's caused him to be pulled into slavery. So, and he was sold for just 20 shekels of silver. And so that's kind of the first half of Genesis chapter 37. And I'll kind of like, just take a break there, and we'll come back to Genesis 37. And perhaps tomorrow we'll come back and finish it off. But I thought it starts off, and it just starts off very personal. And I think personal in a way that we can all relate to, of people inside of our inner circle, transgressing us, and how we handle it is so important. We don't want to handle people in a way that's unforgiving, but we also want to handle a situation with relationships in a way that's wise, because we don't always have to interact on a very personal level with people. We could stay, a little bit far removed and still get things done, if that makes any sense. So, if you guys have questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat. I'm wrapping that part up, and let's go ahead and hop into Ask Me Anything. And what I might go ahead and do is I'm going to hang up, and then I'm going to dial back in, and I'll do Ask Me Anything real quick. Let's see here. Okay, I'm just checking. Yes, I'm going to log out. I'm going to log back in and do Ask Me Anything. So y'all hop right back on with me.